So there's one more thing I'd like to show you before we get to actually playing the instrument, and that is how to tune. First thing, get yourself a clip-on tuner like a Snark or any other brand, or download an app on your phone. They'll all work similarly. Next, you need to memorize the open strings on your ukulele, which are as follows. Starting on the top string, which is closest to your head, G, C, E, A. A good mnemonic to memorize this is good cooks eat a lot. I hope I haven't offended any cooks with that overly generalized statement. So I'll give you a quick demo. So you're going to take your clip-on tuner, put it on the headstock like so. If you have your app, just turn it on and put it on the table next to you. It'll work in the same way. Turn on the button, and then it's like a meter reading. So my ukulele is already in tune, so this is going to go easily. I'm going to start with my A string on the bottom, and the name of the game is to have everything be in that solid blue-green line in the middle without any extra to the side. So see how mine's in tune. It's registered every note. We said this is the A string, this is the E string, this is the C string, and that's the G string, and they're all in tune. So there are varying degrees to being out of tune. If you're slightly out of tune, it might go something like this. So here's a slightly out of tune A string. Notice how the meter is to the left of the note. It's not in the middle in the green. And that means it's too low. If you're to the left, you're too low. So what you want to do is you want to tune it higher till it's in the middle. There we go. So the opposite of that is too high. So if I'm to the right of my target letter, then I'm too high and I need to come back lower till I'm in the middle. And on my tuner, the Snark, if it's too low, it's in the red. If it's too high, it's in the yellow. But some tuners may have different color coordination for that. So one question I always get is, which way do I turn the peg to make it higher or lower? One answer is you can experiment and use your ears. If you're tuning the peg and it's going higher, you know that that way is higher, and you need to bring it back lower. But you can also use the following if your ukulele is strung correctly. The G and the C strings, if you go forward with the tuning peg, if you move it forward, it'll go lower. And if you move it backward, it'll go higher. And the opposite for the E and the A string. Moving it forward will make it higher. Moving it backward will make it lower. It's not the end of the world if you're tuning in the wrong direction and then you realize it and you just tune it back. So don't be afraid of turning it in the wrong direction. It's a lot of trial and error in the beginning. What if your ukulele is so out of tune, it's like in its own world, it's like in its own dimension, right? That's where it gets tricky for beginners. I promised I wouldn't get into too much music theory, but knowing how the relationship of the notes work is going to save you from breaking a string or from being really out of tune. First off, all of the notes in music are alphabetical. That means A, B, C, D, E, F, G, back to A. So that means if you're trying to tune your E string and somehow it's on F, well, F is higher than E in the alphabet, so that means you're too high and you need to bring it back down to where E is. And that means if you're tuning your C string and it's too low, maybe it's registering on a B note. B comes before C in the alphabet. That's too low. And you need to bring it back up higher to your C. So does that make sense so far? Okay, well here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes your tuner might show an in-between note called a sharp or a flat. A sharp is notated by a symbol that looks like a hashtag or a pound sign or a number sign, and what it means is a slight increase in pitch from the original note. A sharp is slightly higher. A flat is the opposite. It's notated by a symbol that looks like a lowercase b and it means a decrease in the pitch from your original note. So G sharp is that in-between note between the G and the A. F sharp is that in-between note between the F and the G, etc. So that means if I'm tuning my G string and I'm on a G sharp, well, even though it's in the solid blue, you're still on G sharp, you need to be on G. G sharp, a sharp is higher than the original note, so that means you have to tune it back down to G. So that one was easy. Now let's try a trickier one. So what if you're on E and somehow you end up on this D sharp? Well, D still comes before E in the alphabet, even though it says sharp. So that means you are going to have to tune that back up to your E note. All you really need to remember is that the notes are alphabetical. And if the note that you're on is before or after your target note, then you need to tune it up or down accordingly. But that's all the theory I really want to get into, because we want to make this fun and easy for you. So good luck tuning! Now we can get into actually playing the instrument, starting with single notes and warm-up exercises.